Okay, welcome back. So you've tuned in because, well, like us, you're probably fascinated by this whole journey of personal growth, finding that inner peace.
hmm And we've got some really great listener-submitted material here, writings that they really dig into how we evolve, and how we might find some stillness inside.
Yeah, really thought-provoking stuff. We've got pieces looking at recurring challenges, the ego, how it can sometimes wear like spiritual robes.
Right, that's a great way to put it. And also the illusion of control, the power you find in silence, comparison,
Yeah.
that trap, and finally finding calm when things are, well, chaotic.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to really unpack these ideas, pull out the key insights, offer some perspectives maybe you haven't considered, but keep it practical, not get too, abstract.
Exactly. Keep it grounded. So
Mm.
where should we start? Maybe with that idea about repeating lessons. The master monk and the student.
Yes, perfect. That feeling when you think, ugh, haven't I learned this already? Why does this keep happening?
And the master monk uses this really vivid image. He says it's not a circle going round and round. It's a spiral.
Okay, a spiral, not a circle. So what's the difference? In practical terms, when you're facing that same old thing again.
Well, think about it. The situation might feel familiar. Maybe it's a relationship pattern or that wave of self-doubt, but you aren't the same.
Ah, okay. So you've changed since the last time.
Hopefully. You've got more experience, maybe a bit more insight, maybe you're stronger. So even though the landscape looks similar, you're navigating it with, well, different equipment this time.
Right, so it's not like life is just making us repeat a class we failed.
Not at all, according to these sources. It's more like an opportunity knocking again, a chance to heal something, understand it on a deeper level, or maybe finally let go.
Like the pattern itself is a message.
Exactly, a signal.
Yeah.
It invites you to ask, okay, what emotions always come up with this? What belief is underneath this feeling?
What am I afraid of here?
Yeah, precisely. And sometimes tracing it back,
Mm.
like when did I first feel this? Finding that root memory can be, well, incredibly powerful.
But it's so easy to feel like a failure when it happens again. The ego loves that, doesn't it? See? You haven't learned anything.
Oh, absolutely. Fertile ground for the ego. But the spiral model flips that script. It suggests maybe the pattern is returning because you're actually ready for the next layer.
Like peeling an onion.
That's the analogy you use, yeah. Maybe the first time it was pure reaction. The second time you notice the reaction. This time,
Hmm.
maybe there's a tiny bit more space. A chance for a different choice.
I like that. It feels more hopeful and less like a judgment. The texts also mention how spirals show up in nature. Shells, galaxies.
Right, which sort of grounds the idea. It's presented not as some weird psychological quirk, but as a fundamental pattern of growth, expanding outwards, but also circling inwards, deepening that self-understanding.
So we keep revisiting themes, but hopefully from a higher vantage point each time.
That's the core concept. It's about evolving through the challenges, not necessarily eliminating them forever.
Okay, so that's the spiral path. But then there's this other really fascinating, maybe slightly uncomfortable idea, the ego in robes.
Ah, yes, the spiritual ego. This is so important, I think, because the ego is, well, it's incredibly adaptable. It doesn't just disappear when you start meditating or reading spiritual books.
It just changes its focus. Like instead of wanting the fancy car, it wants what? To be seen as the most zen person in the room?
Pretty much. The sources use the example of the student monk in meditation, right? Comparing his breath, depth to others, or maybe tallying up his meditation streak, seeking the master's approval.
Oh, I can see that. Subtle.
Very subtle. It trades materialism for like spiritual materialism. Designer clothes become male beads. Maybe obvious arrogance becomes false humility. But that underlying need for validation, still there, just wants to be seen as enlightened now.
So how do we spot this in ourselves?
Hmm.
Because it sounds like it could easily fly under the radar.
Well, the text gives some pointers. Like, are you constantly comparing your progress to others? Feeling a bit superior, maybe?
Or maybe inferior, right? Comparison cuts both ways.
Absolutely. Or defining yourself really rigidly by your practices. I'm a yogi, therefore I must always be calm. That kind of thing.
Yeah, setting yourself up.
Exactly. Another sign is using spirituality to kind of gloss over difficult feelings, like toxic positivity, or being terrified that someone might see your flaws, your inconsistencies, because it would shatter that spiritual image.
So genuine growth isn't about looking perfectly serene all the time.
Quite the opposite, often. The sources suggest true spiritual development is humbling. It makes you more aware of how little you actually know, aware of your own mixed motives, how easy it is to mistake the form for the essence. It connects you more deeply, flaws and all.
There's that striking phrase about letting spiritual identities burn away. That sounds intense.
It does, but it points towards radical honesty. Being willing to admit you're confused or you got it wrong and you don't have all the answers. Holding on to any fixed identity, even a spiritual one, eventually limits you.
The Master Monk's mirror exercise sounds relevant here.
Yeah, looking in the mirror, not to fix your hair, but to ask, okay, where is my ego showing up today? Where am I seeking that external nod? It's about self-awareness, not perfecting a spiritual performance.
It really boils down to intention, doesn't it? Why are you doing the practice?
Exactly. Is it for show or is it for genuine exploration?
Yeah.
And if the ego pops up, which it will, the advice isn't self-flagellation. It's just notice it, acknowledge it. Another layer of the onion, maybe.
Okay, so from the ego's subtle games, the sources shift to something maybe more fundamental for many of us, this illusion of control.
Mm-hmm. That deep-seated human need to manage everything, to predict outcomes. The student monk getting upset about the spilled stones is such a simple but powerful illustration.
And the point is that this need for control often comes from fear, not strength.
That's the core argument. We try to control things because we feel insecure. It's the ego's attempt to build certainty in a world that's inherently uncertain, trying to make things safe and predictable.
But that effort itself creates stress, like holding on too tight.
Exactly. It leads to anxiety, rigidity, disappointment when things inevitably don't go according to our perfect plan. Life is fluid, it moves, it surprises us. Trying to clamp down on it is exhausting.
And these control patterns often point to specific fears, like controlling people might link to fear of abandonment.
Right. Or micromanaging might link to a fear of inadequacy. Resisting change or refusing to let go might point to a fear of the unknown, of vulnerability. It's worth looking at what you feel compelled to control.
So what's the alternative? If not control, then what? Surrender. That sounds passive.
Yeah, the word surrender can be tricky. But in this context, it's not about giving up or being a doormat. It's more about letting go, releasing that tight grip, trusting the flow of life a bit more, choosing peace over the need to be right or have things exactly your way.
Accepting that you can't control everything.
Precisely. There's a beautiful teaching mentioned with the master monk and a bowl of water.
Ah, yes, I remember that.
If you grip the bowl tightly, rigidly, trying desperately not to spill, the water sloshes, you lose your balance, you spill it, you lose your peace.
But if you relax your grip,
If you hold it gently, allowing for movement, trusting your balance, the water stays calm. It illustrates that trying too hard, forcing things, actually creates the instability we fear.
so how do we practice this letting go? It's easy to say.
It's a practice. The text suggests small things, like pausing before reacting when something unexpected happens, taking a breath when you feel that urge to fix or manage, meeting disappointment not with resistance, but with a moment of, okay, this is how it is right now.
Noticing where you tense up, physically, mentally.
Exactly. And consciously choosing to soften around that tension. It's a moment-by-moment awareness. Can I loosen my grip here just a little?
It's like learning to trust the current instead of fighting it all the time.
That's a great way to put it. And the interesting thing the sources suggest is the more you practice letting go, the more life often shows you that things do work out. Maybe not how you planned, but they resolve. You create space for grace, for unexpected solutions.
Okay, moving from controlling the outer world to cultivating the inner. Let's talk about silence. That image of the master and student just sitting quietly together.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
This part really shifts the perspective on silence, not as emptiness or absence, but as fullness, a presence.
Fullness. How so?
Full of potential. When the external noise and the internal chatter die down, that's when you can start to hear other things, your own deeper intuition maybe, the subtle signals from your body, what the sources call the soul's whisper.
There's that quote, words carry the surface, silence carries the depth. That really landed for me.
Me too. It acknowledges that language is limited. Some understandings, some truths aren't conceptual. They have to be felt, experienced directly. And that often happens in stillness, when the analytical mind takes a back seat.
But we're so conditioned against silence, aren't we? Phones buzzing, endless notifications, pressure to always be doing, saying.
Absolutely. Silence can feel uncomfortable, even confronting, because we're not used to just being without input or output. The sources frame it as an investment, though. An investment in awareness, in peace, in genuine connection with yourself.
You can't really hear yourself think if there's constant noise.
Or feel yourself feel. So the suggestions are often simple, like just taking a few minutes with your morning coffee or tea in silence. No phone, no news, just being present.
Or driving without the radio sometimes. A walk in nature without headphones?
Exactly, creating small pockets of stillness in the day. It's not about retreating to a monastery for months, necessarily. It's about integrating moments of quiet.
There's another analogy, right, about a candle flame.
Yes, the master monk compares thoughts to the wind. Constant, busy thoughts are like gusts of wind that make the flame of awareness flicker, unsteady. But stillness is like protecting that flame, allowing it to burn brightly, clearly.
So silence teaches us things,
Uh,
like patience.
Patience, definitely. Discernment, learning to distinguish the noise from the signal. Presence being right here, right now, and that deeper sense of connection.
Okay, shifting gears again slightly, but related to inner state. The trap of comparison. Oh boy.
Yes, a big one for almost everyone, I'd imagine. The student monk watching others who seem so graceful and peaceful while feeling lost himself. That's relatable.
Totally. Especially today with social media showing everyone's highlight reel.
Right. It makes it so easy to feel like you're falling short or you're on the wrong track or everyone else has it figured out except you. But the core message here is simple. Everyone's path is unique, radically unique.
And comparing is just pointless,
So,
painful.
worse than pointless, it's detrimental. It breeds insecurity, as the texts point out. It distracts you from your actual life, your challenges, your blessings. It fosters envy, resentment. It literally steals the joy from your own journey.
The master monk's analogy of the forest.
With different trees.
Yeah.
Each tree is different, valuable in its own way, growing at its own pace, needing different conditions. A pine doesn't compare itself to an oak. It just grows.
So the practice is to keep bringing the focus back inward.
Back to your own feet, on your own path. Embrace your journey, struggles and all. The advice is practical. Notice when comparison creeps in, that feeling of less than or better than. Just notice it. And then gently, kindly remind yourself, my path is my path.
Focus on your own steps, like the master monk says, your own heart, your intentions.
Exactly. The only truly useful comparison is maybe with yourself, who you were yesterday or last year. Am I growing? Am I learning? Am I becoming kinder? That's the measure, not how you stack up against someone else's curated image.
Okay, finally, bringing it all together, finding that calm within the storm. Because life isn't always going to be peaceful externally, is it?
Definitely not. That's perhaps the most crucial piece. The student monk struggling during meditation because his mind is racing or there's noise outside. That's the reality for most of us trying to find peace.
So true peace isn't about eliminating the storms.
It's about learning to be the calm in the storm. It's an internal state, not an external condition. The ability to remain centered even when things around you are turbulent.
Like the stone at the bottom of the pond. The ripples on the surface don't disturb the stone itself.
Beautiful analogy from the texts, yeah. It emphasizes choice. Where do you place your attention? On the swirling chaos outside, or on the potential for stillness within?
The bowl of water analogy comes back here too, right? A calm mind reflects clearly.
While a disturbed mind makes everything look distorted, mucky. So, cultivating inner calm allows you to see the external situation more clearly without the added layer of your own internal agitation.
And acceptance plays a big role here too, accepting what is.
Yes, crucial. Not necessarily liking it or wanting it, but accepting the reality of the present situation. Fighting reality is exhausting and creates suffering. Acceptance, paradoxically, creates space for peace, even alongside difficulty.
And anchoring in the present moment, the breath.
Always coming back to the breath, to the physical sensations of being here now. That's the anchor. External storms, job stress, family issues, global events, they will come and go. But your ability to return to your center, to your breath, that's always available.
So peace is something we cultivate inside, not something we find out there.
Exactly. It's an inside job. And the encouraging reminder is that storms pass. By anchoring ourselves within, we can ride them out with more grace and resilience.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've covered a lot. The spiral path of learning, the sneaky spiritual ego, letting go of control, the wisdom in silence, escaping the comparison trap, and finding that inner calm. It all feels very interconnected.
It really does. Each piece informs the others. Learning to let go helps with finding silence. Overcoming comparison helps you accept your own spiral path. Identifying the ego helps you let go of control. It's all woven together.
And crucially, these aren't just philosophical ideas. They're perspectives you can actually experiment with in your own life. See how they feel. See what shifts.
Right. Practical tools for navigating the complexities of being human.
So we'll leave you with that final thought from the Master Monk, which feels like a good anchor. Keep your peace anchored deep within, and you will always find calm again.
A lovely reminder. And maybe something to ponder. Considering these insights, what spirals in your own life right now might be offering the most significant opportunity for your growth?